So we have another whale back at about 5 o'clock. That's some 8 to 15 feet long. And all by itself, each one of those flippers can weigh close to a ton, 2,000 pounds. Even the blue whale, which is double, nearly triple the length of these humpback whales, still doesn't have a side flipper, a pectoral fin, which is quite as long. And in fact, the Latin name of the humpback whale reflects those long white side flippers. In Latin, the humpback whale is called Megaptera novaangliae. Marine ecosystem is a robust and productive one. So it seems like these whales should have plenty to eat while they're down south. But that's really a misrepresentation that we've all been given. The Caribbean is essentially an aquatic desert. And those coral reefs just represent small oases of life, small pockets of biodiversity in an otherwise very desolate part of the ocean. So that's why these animals are fasting while they're down south. It's not like there's food for them to eat that they just ignore. There really just isn't anything for them to eat while they're there. Nice look at those flippers beneath the surface. Still seeing right here. Come back up. Still really close in. Watch here, just off the bow. Look down into the water. See if you can make out that light green patch in the water. Just kind of lost sight of it. No, I still see it. It's really close in at about 11 o'clock. Lost sight of it again, but the whale was definitely drifting in towards the bow, almost underneath the pulpit when I last saw it. One of the two. I can see it again up in front of us, 11 o'clock. The waves beneath the surface, 11 o'clock, coming up. Decent shot of the underside of the calf's tail that time. Doesn't need to be a perfect shot, but just enough to see one of the key markings on the underside. Just enough for us to be able to recognize the animal when it comes back in. Hey, the calf's been switching sides. It was on the far side, then the near side. Now the far side. There's a nice look at the tail. Okay, let's see if the calf comes up on the near side the next time. It switched. It keeps switching sides. Let's see if it continues to do that. Going to, isn't it? This calf is nursing right now is what it's doing. You see the mother kind of arch her back like that. Now watch the calf kind of dive. It's going to go back towards its mother. And now it's going to come up on the far side again next time. This calf is nursing right now. This sort of leads me back into what I was talking about before. We had mentioned that these whales are highly migratory, and we mentioned that when they go south to the Caribbean during the winter, they're fasting. They're not eating. They lose a quarter of their body weight, some 8 to 15,000 pounds. might be wondering then, why do they bother to go there? Why not just stay up here and feed? Well, they go south because they need to give birth to the calves in warm water. There's reindeer diving now.
Oh my god. We should take videos of
But they need to give birth to the calves in warm water because when the calf is first born, it's not born with that protective layer of fat, of blubber. So if the calves were to be born up here at any time of year, but especially during our winter, they would almost certainly suffer from hypothermia and freeze to death. So the whales will travel south in order to seek out warmer waters in which to give birth to the young. And then as soon as the young are born, they begin nursing from their mothers. And the milk produced by female humpback whales is very rich in fat. It's in fact about 60% fat. Compare that to human milk or cow's milk, which is only about 3% fat. That means that whale's milk has about 20 times the fat content as the milk that we're accustomed to drinking. And in fact, it's so rich in fat that it has the consistency of yogurt when you see it in the water. It's very thick, it's very viscous. And so if you're wondering how the calf was nursing, it doesn't have cheeks, so it can't actually suckle. So instead, the mother actually puts the milk directly into the water, and the calf will pass underneath the mother and just sort of gobble it up, grab it on the baleen. It's so thick that it actually surfaces. Come on. The calf actually has a lot of barnacles on its head. If you see those orange dots on the head, those are barnacles. That's not actually what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the bumps on the head. But there's a single hair or whisker that grows out of the top of each one of those stovepips. And they're thought to be used much in the same way that a cat's whiskers are used as a mechanoreceptor to detect the motion of prey in the water. Because one of the mysteries about these whales, one of the biggest mysteries, has always been how do they find their food? Because despite the fact that these whales, they have very good eyesight, it's unlikely really that they're able to use their eyes to find food, because as we can see, even on a bright sunny day like today, when the whales are just a few feet beneath the surface, they're completely invisible to us, save for maybe their flippers. And that's at the top of the water column where there's a lot of light. You can imagine what it's like once you get to be 20, 30, 50, 100 feet beneath the surface. It's about how deep it is on top of Stellwagen Bank is 100 feet. It's essentially black. And so a big mystery about these whales has always been how do they find their food? Humpback whales don't have the sophisticated echolocation system that the toothed whales do. So we believe that they most oftentimes they listen for the sounds made by fish. They may also be able to taste the chemical signature of schools of fish. But when in close quarters, they may be able to use these hairs on top of their heads, like I said, as a mechanoreceptor, just like a cat's whiskers, to feel the motion of prey, and that may indicate to the whale the most opportune time to open the mouth and give the most fish each mouthful. But if we get a really close look again, look for those stoveboats and bumps up on top of the whale's head. Again, they were called stovebolts by the whalers and not really bumps. The whalers have lots of misconceptions about these whales, including that they oozed oil from their skin when they do it. You may have noticed those smooth patches in the water when the whales are swimming. Those are called footprints or footprints, and they do sort of look like oil slicks coming up right next to them. And here's the adults. See the stovebolts, the bumps on their heads? But those smooth patches, you're seeing them right there at 9 o'clock, they sort of look like oil slicks, but they're not. Here comes a cow. They're really just pressure patches caused by the upward movement of the whale's tails. You can actually see how when this whale's swimming, it's moving the tail up and down. Each time that tail gets brought on the upstroke, it displaces hundreds of gallons of seawater towards the surface, and that displaced seawater, when it hits the top of the water column, it flattens the water out into that smooth patch that you see. You could create the exact same effect in miniature in a pool or a bathtub by cupping your hands beneath the surface, tossing water, or kicking your feet beneath the surface without breaking the surface. You'll be able to see it create the same effect. It's just that a whale's tail is so large that it's a much larger effect. But the whalers, right here at 11 o'clock, you see the whales, both of them, just beneath the surface on our port side. The whalers spent so much time stripping the blubber off these whales, melting the blubber down into a very fine, high-grade oil, that they just got the impression that whales were greasy, oily creatures, and they thought they actually oozed oil from their skin as they dove, but just was not the case. we're inbound for this location, so we're just kind of getting our last looks. We're able to spend a lot of time with these whales, so we're kind of getting our last looks at our mama half bear, and then we're going to have to vacate this area.
Nice.
I didn't miss it.